Good evening. Welcome to this evening's Yukon City Council and Yukon Municipal Authority meeting. It is April the 7th, 2026 at approximately 7 p.m. We're gathered here in council chambers in the Centennial Building at 12 South 5th Street in the great city of Yukon, Oklahoma. At this time, we'll have a roll call. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Brian Pillmore.
Here.
Jeff Wooten.
Here.
Shelley Selby. Here. Adam Schreiber.
Here.
Rodney Zimmerman.
Here.
We'll have our invocation this evening delivered by Pastor Gene Newberry of South Yukon Church of Christ, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand if you're able?
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we take this time to bow before you, to acknowledge you as our God, our sovereign Lord. And we thank you for this opportunity to gather together in this place. We thank you for the day that you've given us and the mercies you have shown us throughout the day. Heavenly Father, as we conduct business in this building, dear Father, we pray that your Holy Spirit will guide each and every one with wisdom and discernment, so that the blessings may fall upon each and every household and each and every member that is here. And Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the love that you've shown us through your Son, Jesus Christ. Heavenly Father, we pray all this through your Son, who reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have our presentations and proclamations. I'd ask for the librarians to join me down below.
While he's doing that, there's folks out there, there are seats inside. Jody, there's some seats up here. Can we scoot over one and let somebody sit on that side? There are several people that are not. Okay.
We had a power outage this afternoon in Yukon, so the team is prepped. We have battery-powered lighting in case anything happens. National Library Week 2026, great week. Whereas libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can find joy through exploration and discovery. Libraries serve as a vibrant community hub and connect people with knowledge, technology, and resources while fostering civic engagement, critical thinking, and cultural enrichment. Libraries provide free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background, have the support that they need to learn, connect, and thrive. Libraries partner with schools, businesses, and organizations to maximize resources, increase efficiency, and expand access to essential services, strengthening the entire community. Libraries also empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth and economic success. Libraries nurture young minds through story times, STEAM programs, and literacy initiatives, fostering curiosity and a love of learning that lasts a lifetime. Libraries protect the right to read, think, and explore without censorship, standing as champions of intellectual freedom and free expression. Dedicated librarians and library workers, like yourselves, provide welcoming spaces that inspire discovery, collaboration, and creativity for all. Libraries, librarians, and library workers across the country are joining together to celebrate this week as National Library Week under the theme, Find Your Joy. I, Brian Pillmore, Mayor of Yukon, do hereby proclaim April 19th to 25th, 2026 is National Library Week. Thank you. And now, thank you so much, ladies. Now, not on our program, but I'd like to ask Councilwoman Selby, Councilman Zimmerman to join me down here below. Your last regular. And I think all the citizens know how tireless the council works on behalf of the citizens, in addition to our boards, authorities, and commissions. And I'll just say, having worked alongside of Councilwoman Selby, Councilman Zimmerman for the last 2 years, their dedication is tireless. They are focused and relentless advocates for the city of Yukon. And we want to give them a small token of appreciation. It's nothing compared to the hours that everyone puts into this job. And but we want to give you a couple of mementos, recognitions of your achievements. Rodney, Shelley, and I'd like for you each to say a few words to reflect on your service.
Well, I didn't realize this was our last regular session meeting. We'll be having 2 more maybe in April, so I was going to have this long speech to tell you that 8 years ago when I first started, I didn't have a voice, but because of your encouragement and your support, I found that voice. I love this community. I love all of you and the things that we're doing in Yukon. It has been a joy, mostly a pleasure, to serve here. I will miss my time. I will miss all the people that I've met national-wide, statewide, and here in the city. But trust me, you have not seen the end of me yet. I'll be sitting out there where you are, holding everybody accountable, because that's what civic engagement is all about. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you for showing up. And we're going to continue with great work. Jordan is going to do great work, and Rick. And so I wish them both the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, when I ran 4 years ago, it was because, like a lot of my neighbors, I felt like there were just things not being accomplished and things being left alone that needed to be done. In fact, I had a resident today said, if the best thing you accomplished in 4 years was getting the intersection at Yukon Parkway and Benjamin Avenue fixed, that's tremendous. I think we did more than that. When you go down and look at the list of things that I feel we've done, it is a great accomplishment. I've worked with 7 different council members in the last 4 years, debates and discussions, and every one of those 7 was very dedicated to trying to do great things for Yukon. Had a lot of great conversations with other residents along the way. Open and honest conversations. That's kind of a dying thing, to have an open and honest conversation and be able to acknowledge pros and cons of things that we may not like. Most of those conversations ended with, we would find common ground and things we agreed on, and we both understood that we all wanted things to be great. That we've got to have more of that. If we want society to survive, we have to be able to have more of those open and honest conversations. So I appreciate those people that reached out and did that. I love this town. I think the people are outstanding. I think the city staff that we have here now is really great. There's a lot of knowledge with them. They want to do wonderful things for the city. They're fighting for that daily. Our city workers, I've said this before, they're the backbone. They're the ones that make things happen day to day. Without them, there's not much we can do. And I kind of feel right now their hands are untied, and they're going forth and they're taking care of business, and it's wonderful to see. So I've appreciated it. It's been an honor to serve. I hope it's been an example to the students I teach that they can come get involved and do great things for the city.
Thank you so much. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up our section of presentations. We have one presentation by RDG Planning and Design this evening, who is doing our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. This will be a presentation that they're making to the council and to the public, and they will also be appearing at our Parks Board later this week. which will be a longer presentation and a potential for more discussion. So this will just be a presentation. Please proceed.
Thank you. Well, hi, everyone. Good to see you. My name's Molly Hanson. I'm with RDG Planning and Design. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you here today. We've got some slides we're going to pull up, but I'm here today to talk about the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. It is underway, and we wanted to provide an update on the process, where we've been, and where we're going. Like the mayor mentioned, we'll be continuing to have meetings over the next few days and are presenting to the Park Board tomorrow evening with a little bit longer presentation, but we'll keep things snappy today. So go ahead and advance this, or do I advance this? Great. Awesome. So a little bit about our team. If you're working staff or consultants, will you just wave that you're like helping with this? Come on. They're being shy. Okay. Well, they've been great to work with, and if you see us in front of you, just know there's a deep bench of supporting people back home working on this as well. Here's a few of the friendly faces that are part of this effort. And I want to introduce my colleague Brian to tell you a little bit about Pros Consulting, who's also part of the team.
Thank you, Molly. My name is Brian Trusty. I'm a senior principal at Pros Consulting. We're a nationwide consulting firm that specializes in parks and recreation agencies, land management agencies, conservancies, etc. We're based in Indianapolis, but I'm actually conveniently located in Dallas, so it's a pretty easy stretch of I-35 to make it up here whenever we need to. One of the unique things about Pros, and we do team with RDG quite a bit, I think we have 5 active projects together right now across the Midwest, is that all of the principals, myself included, are all recovering parks and recreation directors. So we've all walked a mile or more in Ryan, Brian, or Ashley's shoes. We know what it's like to do this work on a daily basis. And we know what it's like to go through a planning process like this from your side of the fence, as well as to catch the football when the planning's done and put it into implementation. So a lot of the work that we're doing, supporting Molly and the RDG team, is around a lot of the softscape side of Parks and Rec planning. So operations, maintenance, recreational programming, financial analyses, and funding and revenue strategies. So glad to be on the team, and thanks for having us.
All right. Our friend Jeff couldn't be here today, but many of you know him. He works with the PDG. They're out of Tulsa, but have done some great projects in the community and around. He'll be here tomorrow night for the Parks Board and is supporting us with his expertise in landscape architecture. And so that is our team of RDG, Pros, and PDG. And it's been a joy so far. So a little bit about what makes up a park and recreation master plan. We get started. There's a lot of public engagement, which you're going to hear more about this evening. That we talk about community demographics and trends. We assess all the existing facilities and kind of give you a base level of where you're at. Then we look at opportunities for growth, as well as operations and maintenance. We get into the weeds and get into the details to find efficiencies and really help a department put together a roadmap for the next 10 to 20 years. You're an awesome growing community, and so we're not just planning for tomorrow, we're planning for down the road. And so a vision and master plan document is what will come out of this, as well as priority projects and phasing and funding strategies. We're also park enthusiasts. So if you hear us getting excited about all these things, it's because we get to go out in your parks, we get to talk to the people about your parks, and it really is an excellent opportunity. It's not just for us, though. We want everyone who's here to be part of this plan and to see themselves in the plan. We have a project management team. We have an advisory committee made up of individuals from around the community as well, some of which are here tonight. Thank you. City leadership, department heads, key stakeholders, and of course, general community members. There's room for everybody to have their voice heard and be part of this plan, and that's actually what makes the best park plans, is ones that everyone is involved in creating. Ryan talked about this today at our advisory committee meeting, and I think it's really important to talk about our why we do this work. I'm a former environmental educator, so that's where my background is, but we really we care about public service, just as all of you do. We want to continue to strengthen this industry, contribute to healthy, strong communities, and really, we're lifelong learners. So every community, every opportunity is a chance for us to learn and grow, and then help our clients learn and grow. And that's why we get up every day and do what we do. Public engagement, this is the fun part, right? We get out and we talk to people. And this is a process that goes on throughout the entirety of the plan. And at the very minimum, we know it's our job to inform people, to let them know that this plan is going on. But ultimately, we want to move down that spectrum and collaborate and empower individuals to help us implement this plan down the road. A public engagement process is not just checking a box. It's an opportunity for us to build a coalition of champions around this plan. And for you all to have folks who are excited about it and want to take on some of the responsibility of implementing it and bringing it to fruition. So there's a lot of different ways that we do this. It's already been going on and it will continue to go on, but with both in-person and online opportunities for people to engage. We're not only having conversations, but if you're home in your sweatpants at 2 a.m. and you also want to contribute to the plan, there is a way for you to do that as well. So we want to make sure that we're providing every opportunity because a great plan is focused around people, and we want people to be using our parks. So we're gonna make a plug here for our survey, which is live right now. Actually, if you scan that QR code, it will take you to the project website. If you see anyone with a lanyard coming towards you, they also will probably ask you to scan the QR code. We have some big goals for this survey. We want to have over 1,000 respondents. And there's also an opportunity to engage with a real-time map. So we mentioned that we like to hear from neighbors and get projects done. We don't know about all the different issues around the community unless people let us know. So there's a real-time map where you can drop pins and talk about things that you're excited about or maybe concerned about. You can answer the survey to talk about how you would spend city dollars if you had the opportunity to invest them in certain programs and priorities. And we want to know what people would like to see and what they'd like to use. So we have big goals for this, and we would love your help distributing this and taking it. Please go ahead.
So one of the big outcomes of a master plan like this is the capital improvement plan, which is the list of capital projects that would be over the next decade. But one of the expertise that we bring to the table, having been former operators and practitioners in the field, is understanding the true cost of ownership. So oftentimes these master plans, the capital improvement projects stop at the capital investment costs. And that's the full ownership, the cost of ownership goes far beyond that. So we will want to make sure that we help articulate and identify for you all, not only on a park-specific basis, but on a system-wide, what is that full range of capital investment that you may be looking at over the next decade? What's the impact on your existing operations and maintenance costs that may have? What's the life cycle replacement costs of anything that's a built infrastructure or an improved site, and how that equals up to total cost of ownership? And the last thing I'll speak to on this slide is like how we like to organize our capital recommendations is in three major buckets. The first bucket is what we'd call those critical projects. These are the projects that are setting our hair on fire, right? The urgency is great. Things that are broken in parks or not working properly, or that need immediate attention within the first 1 to 3 years. The second bucket we call more of the sustainable list of projects. This is about evolving and refreshing your park system, and what can we do to make it even better than it already is today, besides just fixing things that are old, are tired, or broken. And then the last bucket is what we call visionary. And we were talking a little bit about this afternoon with the mayor, because while there will be visionary projects that come out of this whole process, I have no doubt. I have a prediction on what a couple of them may be, and you already are working on some fairly ambitious projects in town related to parks and recreation. We don't want to shy away from understanding what those are and can be here in Yukon, but we also want to represent them in the right balance of realism and ambition, because we anticipate the number one priority we're going to hear from the community is let's take care of what we already have before we go out and start chasing big, fancy, new, expensive, new projects. So, several steps of process, partnerships, creative funding opportunities to make all those opportunities come together. So the plan will identify those visionary ideas and then lay out some groundwork to how we might be able to achieve them.
Thanks, Brian. Okay. All right, to wrap up here, we wanted to share some early themes of this plan. We call these themes right now, sometimes they call them North Stars or guiding principles, but in the early conversations we've had, working with our advisory committee, initial public engagement, these are what we would call the umbrellas that we want all of our goals and projects and priorities to fall under. And so I won't read all of these to you, but we will make sure you get a copy of them afterwards. But basically what we see here are opportunities for connectivity, taking care of existing facilities, prioritizing things for multi-generations, considering your growing community, protecting and your infrastructure, thinking about long-term resiliency, and really focusing on cooperation and partnerships to get things done, because we know that that's how things get done. And so these are going to be some of the things that guide us as we move through our projects and our priorities. We're going to take a quick side quest because people love trails. So one of the things that we're doing, and we won't go through all the trails that we want to build, but we want you to know that we're thinking about it. Connectivity is a huge opportunity for folks who maybe don't have a car or like to ride their bike or just want to be able to walk to places. And so we want you to know there's some listed here, but we're considering different connectivity opportunities. And that could even be filling in gaps in sidewalks. It could be creating additional trail. It could be connecting neighborhoods to parks. We want to do a big overlay to understand where some of our connectivity gaps are and really make sure that people have access to get places, to green space, to recreation opportunities. And this is just one example of how we might be able to expand some trails around some of your more activated areas and your bigger parks. Don't get too bogged down in the details here. We're just thinking about ways that we can better connect and get people places, maybe with a mode of transportation other than a car. And we don't just want to draw lines on a map. We want to show you what it might look like. Sometimes it might just be safe crossing on a sidewalk to help you get somewhere. It might be a screen to cover, something like train tracks or more dangerous areas. We know that sometimes it looks short on a map, but if there's a major barrier in between, people might not be able to get there. So we just want you to know that while we are looking at it a park by park approach and a program by program approach, we're also looking at the whole system and figuring out how to better make it work together. I may be promoting the survey again with that QR code. But we want to let you know what's coming next. So we've been doing some great work, and I can't thank all the park staff and department heads who have been involved so far. We've got even more work to do. We're going to continue to benchmark against some other communities to understand and learn what people are doing that we might want to involve in ours. We're going to look at facility assessments so we can look at life cycle analysis and understand about make good decisions about replace or repair, and really kind of putting some timeline to those kind of projects. Like Brian mentioned, we're going to be looking at operations and maintenance, trying to find efficiencies, but also making sure that we have a sustainable plan for growth. And then really using all the information that we get, all the feedback we get, all the data that we analyze to help prioritize a pathway. And we look forward to working on all of this with all of you. Quick reminder of when we started, which was last fall, and where we're going. We hope to wrap up at the end of this summer. The final document will be what we call a Park and Recreation Master Plan, and it'll be a roadmap that can help with everything from CIP budgeting to figuring out what's next on the big, hairy, audacious goal list. So high level today, but we just wanted to let you know what we've been up to. And again, thank you for your time today and the opportunity to work in your great community.
Thank you so much, Molly. Thank you, Brian, and your whole team.
Appreciate it.
At this time, we'll recess as Yukon City Council. We'll reconvene as Yukon Municipal Authority. We'll take up the Yukon Municipal Authority consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so the Yukon Municipal Authority, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. Should the authority determine that any item cannot be approved by unanimous vote, that item will be removed from the consent docket and considered separately. The city manager recommends a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 24th, 2026. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. At this time, we'll have a discussion and public comment on water and sewer service agreement with BLE Land Holdings Incorporated affiliate OK-B Yukon Land LLC. I'll now open this public discussion. I'll begin by commenting and thanking Nick Rice, City Attorney Reinhardt, City Manager Deckard, and our outside counsel, Kaylee Davis-Matty, You all have worked tirelessly on this to ensure that our city and our citizens are well served by any agreement, specifically this contemplated draft agreement. From the outset, I appreciate that you guys looked out at every conversation that I had in the interim was, how does this best serve Yukon and how is it sustainable for the citizens long term? So I really appreciate that, and I'm glad that we have city staff and outside counsel and city attorney that look out for those interests. So with that comment, I'll open up the public discussion. This 40-some page document everybody received on whatever that was, Thursday afternoon, because of the Easter weekend.
I'd like to start, if I could. I know it's public discussion, but I was under the impression, and I think some of you are too, that when we talked about this, we were told there would be a water study, and I've been asking for that every week, and every week I was promised that Nick's office would have it, and I didn't get it. And so when I brought that up to the city manager, he said, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think that there may be some confusion in terms of water study. There still is a water study underway by Garver.
About the data center.
No, that water study is regarding 50 to 100-year plan for
Right.
different sources of water
But-
for potable. This is non-potable.
We were told in a meeting that we would have a water study before we did the contract, and we have yet to see a water study that shows, are we able to provide the water for these? And so I don't know if you guys remember that conversation.
Yes.
Rodney, I see you.
I thought I had heard something about a study to see how much we were producing, gray water was produced, and what the sustainability was of it. I
Yeah.
did remember hearing
The
something about
city
that.
staff does have that. So they did study 5 years of daily history on output from our water plant to understand
But Brian, I've been asking for that for the last 2 months and have yet to see it.
I can email you that. The
been
daily
asking.
numbers on effluent. I've sent that to citizens.
I've been asking for it for 2 months and
Okay.
yet.
I don't have any. I can email it to you tonight.
I think that'd be good to send us. I think it'd
Yeah.
also be good to post for people to see
Yeah.
those numbers.
Yeah, we have daily data. I've sent it to some citizens that have asked for it.
I'll bite the bullet and I'll go first. Zach Castle, 728 Ville Avenue. First of all, I think that water study agreement should be made public. I think that having it available upon request, especially for an issue so large and so impactful to the city, needs to be posted. I think there should be a separate section of the city website, just to follow along with this, where any of these important documents and being able to understand the process going through there should be available. Just separate it, a link to a separate section just dedicated to the water study and to the data center, because it is so important. So that was not my original comment, but I wanted to preface with that. First thing I wanted to go through, and I may end up coming up several times, because while the city council may have been emailed this on Thursday, I only found it on Monday, because there is an issue, I think, with the city notification system, which I subscribe to the city council agendas. I have not been receiving them. In fact, I have not been notified of an agenda posted for this one. I have not received, in fact, the last notification I received was for I'll have to look it up. It's for 3/9. I forgot what specifically that was. But that's the notification I got today on my phone. So I have not received this. I end up just browsing the site. And so I have not had an opportunity to read and study this myself. So only just a little. So I may end up coming up as I keep reading over and over during public comments. The first one, I'm going to have to unfortunately find it again. I think it's 312, section 312 in the document. And I apologize if I don't quite get there. But I do think I remember reading in section 3 that on the topic of potable water, it is common and has been in the agreement that the I guess it's the customer, BLE basically, would be responsible for paying for any additional improvements beyond what was needed. I think the initial estimate was 2.5 million gallons a day, their requirements of reclaimed water, and about 500,000 gallons a day.
Not beyond. They'll be responsible for all of the capital improvements
Yes.
associated with those levels.
And I have seen that. I agree with that. But what I think I noticed, and again, if I misread the section, it's only because I'm trying to reclaim it again on my iPad. If additional infrastructure is required, there is something that is a notice to proceed potable water, which the BLE can send, or a subsidiary, of course, can send to the city. And while it does require them to fund all of these things, I wasn't certain if I saw in that agreement anything for the city to pump the brakes. So if they come back and say, we need more beyond the initial estimates, is there something in here that does give the city council, the ability to pump the brakes and go, well, why do you need more now? We agreed on 2.5 and 500,000. And so I think that's my first question.
That's a great point. We'll take it as a follow-up item, Mr. Castle.
Thank you.
And follow up with our council. I agree with you wholeheartedly that there ought to be some ability to say, hey, here's the threshold that we have access to.
Okay.
In the agreement, from what I read from our staff, it was 20,000 gallons for potable and 2.5 million for.
I think it's
effluent.
500,000 for potable.
No.
50,000. I'm sorry, I'm off by a factor of 10. I apologize.
Yeah,
50,000, but it's not zero. And I understand that potable. If you have a bathroom, you got to have potable water.
Yeah.
I get that.
There,
It's and I do, but
we moved that
anytime-
number down from I think 280,000 to 50,000,
Okay.
and I think they're still doing some engineering work. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that there ought to be the
Yeah.
ability to say, hey, this is our limit of
Yeah.
what we have capability of delivering.
But I think it has to be written in that contract.
Yes.
Yeah, we can't just assume that they'll.
I just don't think we can assume anything, and that's why I'm trying to go over it myself with a fine tooth comb, just to make sure.
Yep, I have that written down as a follow up.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castle.
Preston Spicer, 13500 West Wilshire. So going back to the potable water, section 4.2. So I got a few questions. It mentions pods, points of delivery. Do we know how many of those there are going to be?
Points of delivery?
Yeah. Is it a single or is there going to be multiple for?
I don't know. That engineering work hasn't been completed on that yet.
Okay, so it might be worth waiting before we go into any further in the agreement than waiting to get that figured out so we know just exactly how much potable water we plan on sending them. Because if you
The
have
volumes are specified. Did you say
yeah, but
the
it's
number
per
of
pod,
points of
so-
delivery?
But it's per pod. It's 50 gallons a day per pod. 4.2.1.
It says at the pods,
Yeah,
not
so
per pod.
so
Not
it-
per pod.
okay, so but that would mean per pod. So you might want to at least check the verbiage, make sure it's
I think it says
As
at. It says at the pods. 50 gallons per day. 50,000 gallons per day maximum day demand at the pods. So
is
we'll
that-
follow.
Again, let's clarify because let's not assume that everything's going to go as intended. Let's make sure it's written as we want it to be. So my next point on the 50,000 gallons of potable water. So all along we've been told that they weren't going to need much. 50,000 gallons a day is quite a bit of water. A lot of toilet flushes. These aren't supposed to be heavily manned. So I think you just said it came down from 280,000, but why do they need 50,000 gallons a day?
They haven't nailed down the exact number that they need, but that is the upper threshold at the moment.
Okay. My next question.
And the agreement outlaws the use of that water for cooling purposes. So I agree with you that is a lot of toilet flushes. I think it'll be far less than that, but that's essentially today what they're telling us is the max.
So that's a great segue into one of my next points. So 4.2.4 says, except as expressly approved in writing by the city YMA in their sole discretion. So far, over the last couple of years, a lot of sole discretion hasn't really been in the best interest of the city of Yukon and the citizens. So forgive me if I have a little bit of lack of faith that you're going to protect the potable water, because in turn that could be then used as cooling. So I think that needs to be stricken out, that it can't be used for cooling, whether it's expressly written or not.
I agree with you wholeheartedly,
So
Mr. Spicer.
I think we
on
need to
that.
change that, because it's.
I agree with you that it shouldn't be allowed to be
4.2.3,
used for cooling.
Like, end of discussion, in my opinion. So we've got to protect our resource. It's our most valuable resource, and I think we've got to keep that. I did have another question. What are other municipally approved purposes in
Are you-
section 4.2.2? So it says use, customer shall use potable water for domestic, ancillary, and other municipally approved purposes consistent with applicable law.
Yeah,
Is
I would say it's anything except for cooling purposes. I mean,
So
I'm not sure if they have some cleaning purposes or some other things that might come up.
again, to my same point, it might be worth clarifying so we know exactly what it's going to get used for, and make sure, I'm not even coming up with an example, but just make sure it's getting used for what it needs to be used for. And again, I think we need to decrease that amount significantly. So that's all I've got for right now.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. Okay, Zach Hassel, 728 Villa. I'm only doing a small follow-up because I found actually the spot I was looking for in the first place. It's specifically 311, water sources, withdrawal, and treatment improvements. And what I was my specific concern on it was under 311, if customer sends notice to proceed potable water, then the customer acknowledges that additional water sources, treatment, and related infrastructure required to meet service levels contemplated under this agreement. Okay. Accordingly, the improvements needed to meet service levels shall include all capital improvements to serve customers' demand, and this is the part where I have my most, my largest concern, including without limitation, development or integration of additional or incremental water sources, and any processes, systems, equipment, and appurtenances, I didn't pronounce that right, necessary to produce and deliver water meeting applicable drinking water standards. And so that's what got me the most concerned is without limitation. It's like if we need more, it seems like they're like, we need to go grab more. And so as a follow-up to
it's more about the cost. So
Okay.
as you probably know, we've been exploring water solutions from Bethany, which has an abundance of water underneath their own feet, right?
Yeah.
More than their city.
Then why do they buy from Oklahoma City in the summer?
That I'm not sure about, but they have.
Was Bethany's, I had heard, and this could be just me hearing tales out of school, but Bethany's was non-potable. Whatever was under Bethany was
No.
that Mr. Decker? I'm just, like I said, I reserve the right to be completely wrong about this one,
fair
but
enough. They tap into the Garber-Wellington aquifer, which is the same aquifer where our well system down near
Yeah.
Will Rogers Airport is located. Same aquifer, but just to remain at a high level, this particular clause, I think, from my briefing from Nick Rice and our city council or our city attorney, really critical that the end customer, BLE, the whole premise of this agreement is that the dollars that are spent to increase capacity, to improve quality and water quality and so on, are going to be borne by the project.
And I appreciate that, very much so. But I think the real concern I have is not with the dollar who's funding, but without limitation where you're getting the water. So being that this is a section on improvements, this would imply that this is after the fact. We've set up the water services agreement, we've built the pipes, we found the water initially for whatever project happens to go on that land, and now we need more. Meaning that whatever supply is not enough. And so if it's without limitation to grab more.
The intention is to quantify at the notice to proceed. So at the notice to proceed, quantify the amount of water needed and agree on a budget that BLE and their affiliates will pay for. And
they could pay us all the money in the world, but if the water source is not there, then that is beyond money. And the concern I think a lot of folks have is that not the cost, not the dollars, not them paying us money, because you could pay me $1 billion to put a nuclear landfill in my backyard and I wouldn't do it.
For sure.
And because it's not about the money, it's about the land, it's about the resources themselves. And so with, I've heard now 2 stories on whether the aquifer below Bethany is potable or non-potable, but if it isn't, as I had heard first, and we're having to search for other potable sources, the language in there concerns me.
Our intention, data center stuff aside, our intention is to search. Today we receive water from 2 sources. We buy water from Oklahoma City, and we source from 15 wells that we have down near Will Rogers on leased land from different sources. Our intention is to have 3, 4, 5 other sources of water. Why? Because the city of Yukon, data center aside, it's City of Yukon needs more redundancy and sustainability for water long-term, potable. We believe that exploring for those sources, some of that can happen with a project like this, and some of it can happen on our own. We need to do both. It's not an either or. And I see, at one point, City of Yukon actually got water for our citizens, this is decades ago, from underneath our own feet. City of Yukon used to have a water treatment plant as well. If you rewind the clock decades, where was that water treatment plant located? Well, it's actually over by 11th Street. That water treatment plant treated Canadian River alluvial sands aquifer water for drinking for the City of Yukon. Now, it's been obviously mothballed, demolished, etc., but there are other sources to our south in the El Reno aquifer, under our own feet, Canadian River alluvial aquifer, to our east, the Garber-Wellington aquifer. Now, each of those aquifers have particular challenges. In the case of, Canadian River alluvial, it's calcium, it's magnesium, it's total dissolved solids, right? To our south in the El Reno, can be sometimes hard to access, and we don't have very many acre feet that's allotted to our city sitting on that aquifer. To our east, Garber-Wellington, it's the transport cost. All of these things the city staff is digging into, separate and distinct from data center discussion. City staff is thinking about water for the next 50 to 100 years with outside consultants like Garver, and with our engineering firm. But the way I look at this project is we have today, happy to provide the raw data, which is the 5 years of daily data that I have.
I always take more data.
Yeah, it's pretty cool data, and there's some kind of funny anomalies in it with some particular days where there's very high flow. But that data shows, and the experience of our consultant that operates our wastewater treatment facility would tell you that today we're putting 2.5 million gallons, 3 million gallons a day into the Canadian River that's treated effluent. Can we sell that and use it a second time? I think so.
And I stand by my point, and I appreciate that perspective. I appreciate the history. And I think everyone else does too. I think still, though, my point is that when we are crafting the document that's in front of us today and having the public comment on it, that we just need to make sure all of our ducks are in a row.
Absolutely.
And because if we are trying, it makes the potable water even more important if we are looking at 50 to 100 years, as you say, of future growth, data center aside, this project individually aside. All I'm trying to make sure is that when we read what's in front of us and we sign on the dotted line, we are not accidentally giving ourselves, we're signing what's put in front of us. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
That what's in front of us reflects what we want.
Yeah.
And that we didn't miss something in the process.
I think as a perspective on history, what's really curious to me is that when we only had, a couple of self-service car washes and one kind of automated one at a Circle K on Garth Brooks. Then we put in 6, 7 car washes across town in the last 10 years. Not one of them has a water sewer agreement. All of them use potable, and no prior council batted an eye. They use as much water as our largest apartment complex. They use as much water as our largest nursing home. If you care about water, where were people a decade ago when these started to go in? I think that's the historical perspective.
I think on top of that too, and I'm not going to get too off topic, but I think making sure that we as a city council, does make sure that, what was done in the past is done in the past, but going forward, I challenge you all to keep reading the agreements that are put in front of you, all the wording of the things that are put in front of you, and I'll keep finding things that concern me, and I'll keep bringing them up.
Absolutely.
So,
that's how we all get sharper.
What do they say? I reserve my time.
Yes. And I think, we talk about these other sources, but how can we even think about entering into this agreement if we don't have those sources tied down? I mean, they're out there maybe.
I wish we had an agreement for some of our car washes that do use
That would be
50,000
nice.
gallons a day.
But those people, I don't know what they were thinking 10 years ago. But what I do know is that to say, well, we have these other sources, we don't know. I mean, Bethany does. They have water rationing in the summertime, and they buy from Oklahoma City because they don't have enough water themselves. And so to say we're going to buy from Bethany until we have that concrete, and again, until we see that water study that we were promised, we don't know. I would love to say I trust and I believe, but I think we need to see it.
Trust but verify. Ms. Harlan.
I agree with the comments that have been made earlier. The agreement should only reflect what we have available to sell.
I agree.
We heard it was only going to be non-potable water. We heard the Bethany water was going to be for potable water, nothing to do with the data center. We heard there would be a water plan before a final decision was made more than once. It would be like me promising to loan money without looking in the bank to see how much I have. I'm going to try to get some other loans so I can loan you money. That doesn't make sense. It's not prudent. And if we look ahead, the tribes say 7 generations. If we look ahead 50 years, water is a finite resource. Atlanta-based companies like BLE Landholding came here because they are banned in Atlanta and 7 other states. Who knows them better? The place where they're headquartered or Oklahoma with dollar signs in our eyes. We cannot promise them something we don't have, just like we couldn't promise a loan without having the resources to back that loan up. This agreement needs to only deal with the amount of water. I've heard a lot of numbers. I haven't seen anything in writing to show what Yukon really has. I've heard that 2.5 million comes out of effluent comes out of the Yukon Center, and that data centers, not necessarily this one, are going to need 3 million. This agreement needs to match what they need with what we have in writing. To say unlimited water, and we're going to look for water. Everybody's looking for water. Yukon and the rest of the state are in a drought. So we're trusting someone that the state that they live in does not trust. They're banned in Atlanta. So who knows them better? It would be like me talking to my ex-husband's new girlfriend, and she's like, he's wonderful. I'm saying, well, I know him better because I lived with him. Atlanta lived with BLE Landholdings and all the other Atlanta-based centers punching holes in Oklahoma. That water in the aquifer is not unlimited, and that's what our contract says. We need to take a second look at that.
I think to correct that, the contract does not give rights to unlimited amounts of water, Ms. Harlan.
Well, it's
has
without
two-
limitation sounds like it does, and the fact that they can pay for it does not ease my concern.
We could certainly follow up on that particular item, but it has a 2.5 million gallon cap on the non-potable side, and it has a 50,000 gallon cap on the potable side.
Well, then
So
where does the unlimited come in?
That's not the intention at all. We can follow up with our attorney and make sure that it's limited to that amount. I agree with you. It shouldn't be unlimited.
It's
Our
state-
intention was for it to have limitation based on their engineering estimates.
Well, maybe it's good to have this kind of discussion so we understand better, and the possibility for misunderstanding is exposed by these
That's
gentlemen
why-
who've obviously done their homework.
What we committed to last year, I want to say it was in early fall as we began some of the early work that then, kind of got put on hold for a few months, was that our intention, some citizens said, hey, will you make sure that we have this agreement? We could look at it for a couple of weeks before any action's taken. So this evening, there's 0 action taken. It's all public discussion, public comment, and we're going to have some follow-up items that obviously we have to sharpen our pencil on to make sure that we get it right.
Well, how do we see the agreement? Is it posted?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the agenda packet along with the
Okay.
city council agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Harlan.
I'd like for us to also look at 11.2. Would you read the subtitle of that? 11.2. It says the soul something. Help me out here. I've got a splitting headache, folks. I'm sorry. I can't remember.
Is it 11.2.1?
I think
Councilwoman Selby?
Read what it says. As
The improvements are being constructed to serve the municipal system and to establish or enhance utility service classes that will be available to all qualifying users, not solely for the customer's benefit.
Right.
So this
And
is really.
So I asked the question, because I wanted to get my question ahead of time, is this preparing us to sell to Oklahoma City? And I received no answer
This
whatsoever.
This is a clause that bond counsel puts in. So it's really critical in these types of agreements. You can't. Then this is. I asked the same similar question and asked them to give some guidance on this, and they said we can't put in any agreement that's like a take or pay agreement for a single user. Why? Because it actually destroys your ability to do tax exempt financing. Because you, instead of having a public utility, you've now created this like single customer class. So the way that so we had bond counsel review this whole agreement to make sure that those kind of clauses are in there and clear. This is not creating a single user utility. This is still all the pipes, all the processing, all the everything is for the public utility, not for a single user.
Okay.
And it's unrelated to Oklahoma City.
So if a car wash came in then and said, well, you've got this gray water system, we want to tap into it, that clause
there
makes it
are some
available?
clauses in here that get a little bit complicated. But if a car wash was to say that, there's some clauses in here that say, hey, BLE paid millions to help the city of Yukon put this in. You, Mr. Car Wash, want to connect to that? BLE is using 2.5 million of treated effluent per day. We want to use 100,000. You need to pay to the city of Yukon their proportionate cost. Is that likely? Maybe over the long term, but I think, it depends what happens on that side of town, I think, is the short
Absolutely,
answer.
yeah.
Mr. Spicer.
First off, I want to apologize, Zach. I told you that Mr. Deckard said it was non-potable, but I had that backwards in my head. He said that Bethany's water was potable, so forgive me on that and for misstating that. You kind of brought up a good point that I wanted to ask on. Have we figured out or learned more on kind of the whole snafu that happened at the Oklahoma City and the whole deal where they weren't going to buy water from us and this, that, and the other? Is there anything in that addresses that in this agreement that's going to address that? Have we talked to them? What's
We
kind
have
of where are we
not.
at on that?
Theirs is still in process. There's zero use of Yukon water in their agreement, and theirs is still very much in process. It's outside of our proceedings and our council meetings.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, I think acreage-wise, there's a lot more that sits in Oklahoma City limits.
In terms of
Size of land, can't remember off the top of my head.
in terms of the size of
buildings.
land that BLE has under control, it's give or take 2/3 Yukon, 1/3 OKC.
But if you look at Oklahoma City's plan, there's up to 20 different data centers that they have from different companies that is on their plan for all
Okay.
that land that's out there.
Yeah,
So-
but BLE related.
Right,
Like
it's-
two-third,
yeah.
like 180 acres Yukon and another third of the project in the OKC side.
Okay, so so this water issue gets even bigger than if you start looking at the scale of beyond BLE, especially if Oklahoma City can't figure out what they want to do or whatever agreement we need to, come up with them.
Yeah, and I don't want to take up OKC's issue, but I'll just
No,
I will make one comment, Mr. Spicer, because I think it'll help allay those concerns. The prior discussions with OKC that I've heard about is that they're not allowing any water use, so they're going to use a pure air cooled system. Okay, and that could also be a possibility on our side. What are the pros and cons of air cooled? I think the amount of electricity use is give or take 20% higher if they use air cooled, and the noise then becomes a factor. I think we have some significant concerns around noise, and we want that to be, we've already put that into our zoning requirements of 55 decibels or below. The highway's at give or take 75 decibels over there. So that's really important that water cooling, we don't want to use potable, but using something reusing something that we're today putting in the Canadian River and that BLE is willing to pay for, I think is a more efficient system of cooling than air cooled, and it's a lot less noisy and a lot more, power friendly.
Sure. One other thing I wanted to comment on, going back to the potable water. So you mentioned the different options for additional wells. So there's a bunch of us that live out north of town, north of the river, that use that aquifer. It's pretty limited. I went and sat at a interim study at the Capitol and the OWRB did a presentation in that study. And the Canadian River, pretty much as far as surface permits goes, is completely permitted out. So when you think about that, what you're thinking about is, so that's everything. We're pulling everything out of the surface and out of that Canadian River that we can, allowing it enough to recharge the aquifer. So if we start touching that aquifer, like, that's going to damage our well-being. Like, if we don't have water, we don't have a life source.
Yes.
So that's, like, from the beginning, that's been my biggest concern and my family's biggest concern. Our Centennial Farm sits out there. If we lose that water source, we lose our life source.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, that's the main thing I need and want protected. I haven't had a chance to go through a whole lot else on the agreement because, like Zach, I think I emailed you today about that same issue with the notification. So
Feel free to send me any email, Mr. Spicer, on that. But I share your concern on the Canadian River alluvial. The intention of, the council and city staff, city engineer, is not to do any damage there, to ensure that it's sustainable. In fact, that's our greatest desire, is to make sure that this is sustainable for the long haul, right? So your Centennial Farm is another 100-year asset.
So intention's great. Zach kind of made a comment on it earlier. Intention's great, but if something's not in writing, or it might not have been Zach, but somebody did. Intention's great, but if it's not in writing, then we've got nothing to stand on. So, I would appreciate my family, and I think, I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but I think other residents out there would appreciate some protections put in place for our aquifer, just in this grand water plan. So.
Yeah, I think additionally, getting utility service, it's a little outside the scope of this particular agreement, but getting utility service to the west and to the northwest side of Yukon is also a priority. Being able to get water service, and it's a stretch, right? It's a long ways.
Oh, were you following up? Okay. Oh, and I'll follow up with just a little bit before I get into mine. With the intention is good, following up on that exact topic again, but eventually the five of you will no longer be up here. Just you'll term out, you'll roll off, whatever. When we talk about good intentions, those are great today, but 5 to 10 years from now, and different people sit in front of this dais, they may not have the same good intentions that you all do. And that's why we want to make sure that everything is in black and white, because anecdotally, I just recently had a bad contract and I lost a lot of money out of it. And so because of that, I'm much more in tune with these things and much more eager to read them and understand them. And so it's not even for today and for the good intentions up here, but for tomorrow, 5, 10, 50, 100 years from now. Also, I wanted to bring up, and something that, again, like I said, I'm going to keep coming back up here as I keep reading more and more. One of the things that we talked about is the maximum allowable water source, maximum allowable usage of reclaimed and potable water every for the day. Sorry, let me start over. We've talked about the maximum usage, the 2.5 million and the 50,000, but we don't talk anywhere in here, as far as I can tell, about minimum amounts. If the goal of this, and we talk about how data centers decide, well, I'm going to bring the data center back because that is the first customer. That is why we are setting this up in the first place, is to set up for a large reclaimed water user, likely a data center. And we talk about we want to sell that water. I've heard that we actually have a lot of reclaimed water that we're dumping into the river. and we want to use it. We want to use it and get a little money out of it. That's great. But if Oklahoma City is taking their 1/3 of this particular data center under consideration and air cooling it, they're trying to bypass a water cooling system for whatever reason.
Well, let me give you just two basic reasons, right? One is they only have access to potable, and then the second is their wastewater treatment facility is 23 miles away. It would be about $100 million pipeline to build.
Well, if you're supposed to be making oodles and boodles from a data center, then that should be cost of doing business, I suppose. But it does not our problem, but it kind of is, because if we have a 400-acre data, is about 400 acres. I'd heard 400, so I may be wrong, but 180 times 1.3 is the total amount, and are people going to have to travel from the Oklahoma City side to the Yukon side to go to the bathroom? Because if they're not doing water, or are they connecting their potable sources for their bathrooms?
Basic domestic. But what we're talking about is like bigger pipes, higher volume.
Sure. I just wanted to double check that, and they have no intention of doing anything but air cooled. Because I look at this as one project.
I'm not going to speak on the Oklahoma City side. I can only talk about what I've heard, and that's very much still their piece is very much still in process.
And that's fair that they're still in process as well. I'm glad they're taking the time to think about it as well, because I look at this as one project that happens to cross two municipalities, and it gets tricky. And that's what but we can only really control, like you've been saying, you can't speak to Oklahoma City, but we can speak to Yukon. So are we eventually going to have to connect? Are we eventually going to have, because maybe they decide that air cooling is not going to work for them.
Yeah, no, the short answer to that is no. There's no intention right now to connect the two.
Okay.
And
now again, intentions are great, but I just wanted to bring that up because the original question I had was the minimum amount that we're expecting them to actually pull. Because I know they're doing all the infrastructure upgrades, they're paying for all of it, and if they don't use any water out of it, well.
No, they'll definitely be used. At the end of the day, the notice to proceed will come along, and you'll see in here, based on my discussions with Nick Rice, they have to come up with, in that notice to proceed, they do some pre-engineering work, and then they do some engineering work, and that starts to quantify, because they have to decide on, basic things like the minimum and the maximum. That determines even just the size of the pipe, the amount that you need. This is gallons per day, but you need also to define, what's gallons per minute.
If they're still looking at the notice to proceed, is 2.5 million reclaimed? Is that pretty set? Is that close to what we think the final number will be, or is that just we grabbed a dartboard?
I think from at least that number stayed a lot more stable than the potable number.
Okay. Yeah, I see the potable, I think, said between 20 and 50,000 in the agreement as it stands
the potable is bounced around more, and but I think that the sizing of cooling towers and the amount of megawatts that are run is a simpler calculation.
And I also want to follow up with, there are a lot of plans that are listed in this agreement that are obviously not there because I guess they haven't been developed. Fair enough. Will they be available like this plan has been, such as the routing plan scope, and things like the notice to proceed and some of this?
Yeah, short answer is yes.
Will they be available by request, or will they be available like I said earlier, I would really love to have just a place on our site where we can just,
I think
people who are concerned can just go read it.
I think that's a reasonable request, and I think we could easily put together the right package that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously there will likely be, and we'll defer to our city attorney.
Sure.
Around some of the infrastructure related stuff we may want to make available in a physical form just due to security. Infrastructure, I read an alert from the U.S. government just around Iranian attacks on utility infrastructure. So with that aside, we may not just publish the whole plan.
At the very least, if you do have something that for OPSEC reasons, and I am very much aware of OPSEC and the importance of it. How we could potentially, at the very least, if they cannot be made available from the website because of OPSEC reasons, let's point out that this is available and that you do need to request it.
I agree.
And give them a link. That way, it's at least an attempt
to do that.
Make that bridge.
Yes.
We talk about all the water that's going to go out there, but I hope, in this water study, the water goes out there, but it has to come back.
Yes.
And right now, we've upgraded our wastewater system to manage our own needs. Where is it going to be that water, can we handle that water coming back? Because it's
Yes.
coming back with different chemicals than what you and I flush down our toilets.
So in this agreement, I don't have the chapter and verse here, but in this agreement, there's a requirement that BLE deliver the water back to us. They have to treat the water to remove anything to bring it back into proper standards that are acceptable to ODEQ. They can't put stuff in water and not remove it and and have us remove it, because our wastewater treatment plant, something I asked about a lot, we're geared up to treat sewage, right? We're geared up to treat household waste mostly, and obviously some industrial detergents, restaurant service, so on. We're not geared up to take industrial. So in this agreement, and I can follow up with the exact section, has a requirement that they have a pre-treat that brings it into conformance before they send it to our wastewater treatment.
But just the volume, can we again, that's why that study was so important before this contract was made. Can we provide the water? Can get the
Yeah, that's
volume
pretty high
back?
level math, and yes, that we can receive that water back given our current volumes and a 4.5 million gallon treatment per day.
And I just think that we shouldn't have to ask for that water study. It needs to be in the paper. It needs to be on the website, that water study. This whole thing, the very night that we talked about all this, was we will not go farther. We have a contract, but until we get that water study, we will not even, that will kill the deal. And so I just think it's important that the people get to see that water study and not have to contact you. I mean, I don't want every citizen emailing you going, could I have a
Yeah,
water study?
I just got it for Public Works because I just asked, hey, give me 5 years of wastewater effluent discharge.
See, but it was supposed to be a study as such, not just what we've done in the past. Is it actually plausible? I mean, am I crazy? Or do y'all remember hearing that?
Garver's looked at that same data.
Yeah, okay.
You know, we're
Easy to go back and
happy
look
to
at the
provide it.
Right. I remember that night saying, we will have a water study done that will prove that we can do this. And if we can't, then we will kill the project and the contract. That was the night that we voted on it. It was the night, which on Monday night, they said we weren't doing a data center, and Tuesday night we did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Will the pre-treated that BLE's doing, will it take any forever chemicals that they're using out?
There should be zero forever chemicals. That would be a
When it
giant
hits our
violation.
plant.
Oh yeah, that would be a giant violation of federal law. Yeah.
So kind of following up on that conversation, well, two things here. So to Ms. Selby's point, we did the feasibility study on the amphitheater. Like, there's a number of different studies that really we should probably be doing on what this is, that the city of Yukon should be doing, and not take at word what folks are telling us. And I haven't kept up with everything. I haven't been able to. So if there's something out there, I'd love to see it. But whether it's an economic study, water study, wastewater study, environmental, everything. So I think that'd be, that's a step that we need to take if we haven't done it yet. But yeah, exactly, before we approve or move forward with this draft. Kind of a question that I had while Zach was up here is, I just lost it, so I'll move on. Going to kind of something you just mentioned as far as DEQ and federal regs. Do we need to, and again, I haven't made it through this, so I apologize, but do we need to look at being more stringent than what those, and can we be more stringent to make sure they're getting every bit of everything out? I assume we're going to have to, we as a city will be doing our own testing on the water. The DEQ should be doing the testing, and whatever other governing bodies, but can and should we be more stringent on those requirements of what they're sending back to us, and then what we discharge than what federal or state regulations are, because there's more at stake for us.
It's a good question. I could follow up with our outside counsel on that, of whether there ought to be different requirements or regulations outside of what's already in the agreement.
Okay, that'd be great. kind of a random question. Was this initial draft something that our outside counsel drafted, or is it from Beltline?
Nick, do you want to weigh in on that process? Nick is
'Cause
our
I'd love some feedback from
Nick.
if he's with
Nick
our
is our
outside
project
counsel.
manager that's been leading the project, and he can walk through the process. But the short answer, Preston, is that yes, our outside counsel drafted the initial draft, and then it went through some red lines on Beltline's side.
So I think we started our first draft maybe in November, and then I think we hired on Kaylee around that same time, had her look over ours. Hers was way better. We adapted her draft. We've gone back and forth with BLE, probably, I don't know how many red line versions and meetings we've held with BLE, but we've held a lot of meetings and had a lot of different red line versions, both from us and both from them, to get to this agreement. So we made the initial draft, and then they've looked at it, and then they've made changes, and then back and forth, probably 12, 14 different versions.
But I was told that your office was the one that was doing the study, and that's what was taking so long to get to this point, was that your office was doing a water study. And so all this time, you have not been doing a water study.
We have had a potable water study for Yukon.
No, for a non-potable for a data center.
There's been, I mean, we've done, not with an engineering firm, we've done internal stuff. We've sent it over to engineering firms and had them confirm, yes, but this is something you're going to have to take care of during the engineering phase of this water agreement.
Again, we were told that there would be a water study that would be done and published, and it was coming out of your office, so I don't want to throw people under the bus, but they said you were doing it.
I think there's just some misunderstanding of what a water study is and if it's potable, if it's for reuse. I mean, there's a lot of different water studies that we could be talking about.
Nick, what is the status on the Garver water study that's related to potable?
I would say it's about 90% complete. We just need to kind of review it with them and look over it, ask them some questions, do some back and forth, see if we need some additional information in that, and then present it.
But that's just looking for water for the residents.
That for Yukon, correct. Potable water,
Right, not the non-potable.
correct. So,
Thank you, Nick.
and I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any, so.
I seen that Billy did a little welcome website for the Oklahoma City project. They can, like, the constituents can go to it, just like a little storytelling about it. Facts, this, that, the other, the whole intentions from Billy. Is there any way we could put some kind of link, not just these studies on our Facebook or our website? Is there any website that we could put together that is specifically for this project?
I was under the impression, and I wish that Stephanie Burdine was here, because she met with BLE in Oklahoma City, and they said, we wanted to come and meet with your people so that they wouldn't look big and scary. And I would have appreciated that, for them to come and meet with you guys and have an open forum for BLE to be able to talk to us. And I don't know why they did it in Oklahoma City and why we didn't here.
Okay.
I don't have the answer to that one.
You get tired of seeing my face?
No, we don't even see you.
I remembered
It's a
what my
Preston
comment was. Oh.
And Zach, it's a Preston and Zach show tonight. Love it.
To his point about the putting the stuff on the website, honestly, this is probably the most productive conversation we've had in the last 2 years, so I appreciate that. But like, some of that stuff would be great to have this sort of conversation around, whether it's the engineering, design phase that he just talked about, and being an engineer, like, before you guys go signing this, I'd want to see all the engineering documents and everything else in between before the legal documents get signed. Because of what gets put in black and white is, what's going to go to a court if there's ever an issue. So that would kind of be my recommendation, is that we have more of these public discussions as more as this stuff comes out. If we can't put it on the website, then this is a great forum, I think, to do that. And, let's get our ducks in a row before we go signing legal documents. I think is
I
is a
agree.
very
I agree with
important
you
thing
completely,
to-
Mr.
to
Spicer.
see the big picture and see all the details as
Yeah,
well.
and one of the key reasons I was very glad that Mr. Deckard put Nick Rice in charge of special projects, and this was priority number one special project for him, as well as he's engaged our outside engineer, as well as our internal public works team, and not to mention our outside counsel, whose focus is just on municipal utility and water agreements, and of course advised by our city attorney. I think your sentiments are spot on, and that's exactly what the city staff have done for basically the last 5 months. And that's what's brought us to this point. But I agree with you that it's good to look at the engineering work as well. I'm trying to find that one meeting where that topic might have come up. And now that you've given a date for it.
Oh, if Joe Horn was here, he could tell us. Oh, Joe, there you are. You're behind that thing. When was that meeting?
I wasn't listening.
Oh, okay. Joe's tuned us out.
Other comments or discussion questions that are here?
Jordan Westfall, 204 Cherokee Drive. I'm just now getting a chance to take a look at this. I totally agree. I think some of this verbiage is super vague, intentionally so, especially just within the first 8 to 10 pages of it under definitions. I want to clarify what Shelley asked. She asked if there was a study. She was told no multiple times by multiple people. You said that we had a study.
I don't know. Again, back to what is vague, Mr. Westfall. When you say a study, there's some data. And there's some data and there's some analysis. I would call that a study. Some people would say, well, no, it wasn't done by this person. So I have data that I got from Public Works. And I just said, hey, how much effluent does our wastewater treatment plant put into the river? Sure enough, they have daily recordings. Somebody writes it down, somebody puts it in a computer, and I just got 5 years of data. That was, I don't know, 12 months ago that I asked for that and got that. And then the Public Works team has done some further analysis to say, what's max, what's min, can we bridge max and min days with some storage? How does that work? How do you deliver I think the lowest day was like 1.25. Well, that's half of 2.5 million. But the highest day, there's some pretty crazy days, maybe with some stormwater infiltration into our wastewater treatment system that were like 6 million. But on the whole, average, 3 million gallons a day is pretty typical. And so I would call that an analysis. I don't know if I would call that a study.
So what
Definitely
would you do
not.
on that day when there's only 1.5 million?
Storage would bridge the gap. Okay. So you look at those days, because there's some days people flush toilets more often than not, and there's other days people don't. Or there's days that people water their lawns, so you have a lot going out, but it doesn't come back it doesn't come back through our sewer system. So the short answer to that is the Public Works team has done some analysis to size out how do you bridge the days where you have 1.5 million and days that you have 4.5 million. Well, you have some storage that sits in between.
Is that what Nick is working on right now?
Well, it's not just Nick. Nick is leading project management. He's doing a great job of that. But our Public Works team has really been beefed up, and our Public Works director and assistant director have worked on some of that stuff, as well as our outside engineering firm has done some of that work too. So I think there's a lot of brains around the table that have done some analysis. I don't know. I think sometimes people want to study and they want it to be like, hey, it's printed and has letterhead on the front or something.
But I just wanted something.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think
that's what I want to do. I just want to clarify Shelley's first point of asking for a study. I don't consider that a study. I get a bank statement every month. Opening the envelope, it doesn't equal an audit.
But it does tell you how much money you got.
But that doesn't equal an audit, right?
No, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I've got an idea of what my salary every month is.
We got an audit in the city of Yukon that comes a year late. I don't know if I call that an audit. When you really dig into what happens in the city of Yukon, there's not many things that are like, we get an audit and we get last year's June 30th, 2025, we're receiving now.
Sure. I just think when talking about a data center, the the study that we're referencing directly correlates with the data center we're talking about. To me, that's what would qualify as a study. So I wanted to clarify your question and make sure we don't have a study on this.
I think
By the definition that I just gave.
Yeah, by the definition
water
that you've laid-
plus data center equals this. We don't have that.
we do have that. That would be a very simple math. That's a very simple math formula. So 5 years of daily data of effluent that goes out of the back of the plant. You can calculate how much is available, and you know how much is being used based on this agreement.
Why aren't I seeing those numbers in this? If it is that easy and that information is available, I would expect to see numbers in this. I see a ton of numbers, but again, intentionally, it feels like.
This is a legal agreement. This is not an analysis on a hydraulic and water study. Right?
I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Anita Montgomery, 7501 North Frisco Road. So, I'm sorry, I should probably know this, but how much non-potable water does the data center say they need for cooling purposes?
Max per day in this agreement is 2.5 million gallons per day.
And what's the amount that Yukon thinks that they can furnish to the data center? The maximum amount that we could furnish?
Per day, the maximum that we're agreeing to is 2.5 million.
Okay. I was at the Planning Commission meeting that Oklahoma City had, and I guarantee you they were planning, okay, it's my understanding Yukon can't sell water to the data center on the Oklahoma City side legally. But Yukon can sell water to Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City can furnish it to the data center on the Oklahoma City side.
According to Urban Box.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
I heard
according
that
to
same
their
thing.
attorney. And I guarantee you that's what they're planning to do for the Oklahoma City side. They've got the planning commissioner who's been to see the data center, who's their expert on the planning commission for the whole thing. At the end of the meeting, there was an amendment to something, and he said, I just want to be sure that doesn't prevent us from purchasing water from Oklahoma City, from Yukon for the data center.
Yeah, we don't have any agreement with Oklahoma City to do so. So it's outside of the scope
Well, it
of
doesn't
this.
sound to me like we have any excess
We do have
amount
more
that
than
would-
2.5 million gallons, but we're not committing more than we're committing what is within the safe margins of what we can furnish. Today, we put about 3 million gallons into the river on average.
Okay. My point is, we don't have enough to furnish the data center on our side and
We're not committing to
Oklahoma
anything on the Oklahoma City side. This is solely for Yukon.
if these people can't get the water for the Oklahoma City side, are they going to do the
All I've
Yukon
heard,
side?
again, it's outside the scope of this discussion, but all I've heard so far is that they're planning on air cooling. That's the only thing I've heard.
Okay.
I forgot to say, Jody Hartland, 426 Poplar Avenue. I sent you all the letter, each of you, the letter from the Daily Oklahoman quoting Irvin Box with exactly what that letter said. Air cooling was not mentioned in that story about the Oklahoma City data center, but Irvin Box said, so my understanding is this wouldn't prevent us from buying water from Yukon to sell to BLE. That's a quote. And you guys got the article from me about a month ago, so just check your email, and it's
Thank you
there.
so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Harlan. Other comments or questions?
Mr. Const, can you elaborate on that for us at all? If just on water usage between Yukon and Oklahoma City, are you still planning on using air cooled on that side?
Yeah, so
Yes, Mr. Cons, please.
excellent.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just throw you up there.
It's all right, good. Hi, I'm Council Charles Cons, 154 Krog Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30307. I'm a member of Beltline Energy. Just want to thank you guys for providing your time. Thank you to the community for your involvement in this. Thank you for city staff, Nick Rice, for driving this thing and doing such a good job to get a robust agreement together for the city of Yukon for this project. This agreement provides a framework for the project to fund massive amounts of infrastructure build out to serve the needs of the project, with strict requirements on limits for cooling water needs and potential potable water needs. In terms of Oklahoma City, this is separate and distinct from Oklahoma City. If we can't get water, we go air cooled. It's really that simple. So we're not trying to pull the wool over your head, but we really just appreciate you guys for giving us the time, working through this. So thank you. No, it's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Cons. Other comments or questions?
Can I make just one comment, Mayor and Council? There's been a lot of conversation, and I appreciate it, about maximums. Just a notation, 11.3 does kind of indicate that there's no minimum that has to be able to be purchased and allotted. So I think that's been kind of the question that maybe hasn't been directly asked, but something to consider.
And 11.3 states that we have no duty to expand the system beyond.
Correct.
So they can't demand something that's unreasonable beyond our engineering, calculations. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Archibald, 123 South Fifth. I'm so frustrated. I feel, and people I have talked to, I have not met one neighbor, one friend, one other person that lives in Yukon that is for this except for you up here. It's so frustrating. You watch the news, you hear about all the other cities that have knocked this down, that have pushed it out, that have refused to put a data center in their community, and it feels like you guys don't care. You're not listening to anybody. You're not looking at the other cities to see what specifically were their reasons for not going ahead. You're seeing money. You think there's going to be so much money. We don't want it. Exactly. We don't want it. And you don't care.
Ma'am, I would like to tell you that I'm not for or against right now. What I'm for is a moratorium for 3 years while we investigate it, and the Senate bill.
Truly investigate it.
Yes. So
Really
there's a
investigate
Senate
it.
bill by, I think it's Kristen Thompson, that is saying that she wants to put a moratorium for 3 years, just to look at the environmental factors in that. I think everybody's rushing to it. So I want to tell you, I hear you, and I'm not for or against. I'm like, let's take some time. And let's look at all of this. I would love to have a meeting with BLE for the public so that you could, convince us why not. I would love to have that, but we haven't been able to do it. So please know that I hear you.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in on that too, because it was kind of a gross misgeneralization, because I have never once said I was for it. I am wanting to look at pros and cons and weigh it out in an open and honest discussion. Am I living rent-free, Joe? Am I living rent-free?
Why are you talking to me?
Well, you're shaking your head at me while I'm telling the truth and having an open and honest discussion. So that's kind of what it sounds like, but that's okay. I agree. I think what I would like to see going forward is, I think a lot of us are making notes. I think those things need to be looked at in this contract. I think a great step would be bringing BLE in, because I think we've had some great conversation tonight that I think is extremely important. I think bringing them in and letting them have that open and honest conversation with the people, just like this is happening, I think that would be an awesome step forward.
It's great.
Ironically enough, as we keep talking, I keep coming up with more ideas. I had read on section 222 when it talks about delay in tolling. And I'm going to just preface by, I am not a lawyer. I am a computer scientist. I like computers, I like beep boops and ones and zeros. And I love math. But trying to read stuff. I'm trying my best, and I think I'm getting pretty decent at it. One of the things they talk about is issues that arise if we can't. Like basically, the general idea, I think, in Section 2 and 222 and beyond, is to talk about the general willingness of both parties, should we sign the agreement, to work in good faith to push the project forward. Nothing special about that. One of the things I didn't mention is that it was force majeure events. So if for whatever reason, the way I read this, is that if there's a force majeure event that, act of God, that prevents Yukon from engaging in party agreement, then okay, we'll hold off. There's a delay built in of about 12 months, and then just normal delays, and another 6 or 12 months, I think, related to force majeure. But if it's not, then Yukon gets on the hook for basically delay of game. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was when we were talking about, and Councilwoman Selby, you mentioned Oklahoma City, and you mentioned the state of Oklahoma, and that legislators' bill putting a moratorium on data centers. Since this agreement, let's call a spade a spade. This agreement is for a data center in its initial customer. It's with a data center company. And so if we, at the state level, cannot pursue this agreement because we passed at the state level legislation putting a moratorium on data centers, does that affect this agreement and the increased water service capacity? And B, if it does, is that force majeure?
Yeah, I think we can, Mr. Castle, we could definitely ask our legal counsel on that. I agree with you. I'm not an attorney either, and I think it's a good question to raise.
And
it was, I think, Representative Saschieri from Blanchard's bill, and that bill.
I think there's multiple bills actually going through
but
separately.
The specific one that Councilwoman Selby referenced was not Senator Thompson's. But I agree with you. We can follow up on that item.
I just want to make sure, because like I said, is act of God act of Congress?
Yes.
So, all right.
Depends on who you talk to.
And I'd also like to chime in on that. I've never said I support this thing. I never said I don't support this thing. Everybody I've talked to over the phone, I've been upfront and honest that I'm waiting to hear from people. I'm waiting on this water study we're supposed to have. I'm waiting to see if I can set a meeting with BLE. I've called BLE directly. You guys have seen that on my open reports that have been filed against me. I've never specified that I am for or against this project.
I'm not interrupting you. I promise.
Floor, Zach.
Thank you, Councilmember Shriver. No, I just wanted to follow up actually on that. We've talked about this water study for maybe the last 15, 20, 30 minutes. And I have been trying, if you've seen me on my iPad scrolling furiously, it's because I'm trying to look it up. If we talked about it in the minutes, if this is something that's not been brought up in the past few months, and I can't find it. Not to say it's not there, but I can't find it, at least scrolling furiously here in council chambers. Could we, regardless of what's been said or not said in the past, whether it's been done or not, can we have that water study? Can we commit to doing that?
I think I again, back to the comments Mr. Spicer made around what the vague language or so on. I'm not sure what we mean by a study, but I absolutely can commit to a solid analysis that's laid out with the help of our wonderful city staff, our internal public works team, and our external engineer that lays out an analysis that spans many years. Specifically, the data I've seen has 5 years, and lays out volumes, storage, and capacity. I think it's a very reasonable ask. It's one of the first things I asked for to know if this is even feasible.
And can this be maybe, in terms of the scope, and setting a scope, because let's set a good scope to it. We have the records of water consumption and storage within the city of Yukon over the past X years.
Yeah.
And can this scope also include, as I kind of mentioned at the very beginning, with potential additional sources of water that may be potable water that may be required in the future, as per the agreement as it stands today? Can we also include, like, as you mentioned to me earlier, the aquifers around it, the what's good, what's bad about them?
I think that the broader aquifer study is a bit broader scope that we'd have to engage in some deep hydrology analysis and so on with special, and a piece of that, at least at a high level in different phases, is what Garver's doing. Okay, on the potable side. But the other stuff you talked about around what does Yukon consume every day?
Sure.
This is basic information I think every citizen should have. What do we consume every day? How does it come back into our plant? How do we treat it? What do we do with it? As well as water quality. I mean, we have great water quality
Should I
tests.
make a water meter joke?
Do it, please.
No,
I don't
not
know
one.
of any water meter jokes.
Oh no, it's been an old joke about people's water meters reading strange numbers over the past number of years.
Yeah, that happens.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And bring it on. I'd love to read it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Castle.
You know, the truth is, my neighbor back here is absolutely right. The only people that are pushing this thing are behind that horseshoe. The city doesn't want it. This is a monumental waste of time, money, and effort. You all have the opportunity to do the right thing. Do the right thing now. The recall is coming. Do the right thing while you have a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Horn.
Councilwoman Selby, are you pushing this?
Am I pushing what?
Are you pushing a data center?
No.
Councilman Shriver?
On the corner every day with a sign, Zimmerman.
Okay, there you go. There's three again.
So to follow up on that point, that's it feels, at least to me, if we truly want to see the pros and the cons, I haven't seen them. Maybe y'all have seen things that I haven't seen. So if your mind's not made up, why does it feel like we're rushing this? Why does it feel to all the citizens? Because I'm probably not the only one that feels like this has been just thrown at us.
And by rushing, let's be clear on what you mean by rushing, right?
You've got a contract. We
Yeah,
haven't done any
that
studies.
the city staff
Let's
we've worked. Hang on, let's have a good dialogue. 'Cause
Okay,
that's
let's
what
do
you
it.
said, Mr. Spicer.
Let's
You
do it.
said that this has been productive.
Let's do it.
We've had a city staff that spent time and effort with outside counsel and with BLE to go back and forth. You heard what Mr. Rice said, 12, 14 times back and forth,
Sure.
making sure that we did the right thing there, okay? And that's not rushed at all, right? You started in November, and we're not rushing this. This evening, there will be no vote. We said that at the beginning.
Yeah,
We're not rushing
and I
it.
appreciate that. That's the first time.
We've spent time from August till now. That's not rushing, in my opinion.
So
I
I
know
understand
that,
that's a
I
matter
know
of
that you can
months.
feel that way in a single meeting, but this is a long process that the city staff works on day in and day out.
So I'm not taking away what city staff has done, because I know they've spent countless tired hours probably working on this, and I appreciate that. But when I say rushed, is we went from the amphitheater going away to we're selling land in a matter of 2 weeks. And now we're signing we're working on a legal contract. When we don't have engineering studies, we don't have environmental studies, we don't have, I think the next item is a hydraulic and SCADA study that I assume is for this project.
It's not for this project, but
okay.
yes.
But
yes,
so,
it's
so
for the
hey,
city.
there's
of
another
Yukon.
good point. We don't have that study of what our system, what the design needs
There's a
to
good
look
amount
like.
of pre-engineering work that must be done, and that's
So
actually
there's-
referenced in this
So
contract.
there's a whole bunch of due diligence that hasn't been done, and yet we're working on a legal agreement
Well, the
to
question,
proceed with the project.
I think-
So why don't we start with the studies and then move it back? So if our minds aren't made up, let's flip this thing and start where we should. And
to say
go ahead.
to say that there hasn't been any work done on the engineering side because we've thrown around the word study a lot this evening is not accurate. So our outside engineering firm, our public works team, our city staff, our project manager have done a significant amount of work to understand our current system, our current capacity, and what would need to be built. Okay? That work has been done. Okay? We could certainly show
So
you
do I
some
need-
of that.
That'd be great.
We can show you some of that analysis. Understand. The item in front of us today is regarding the review and public comment, and we've had a very productive discussion, I think, and we have a number of follow-up items on this. I don't disagree that we ought to show more analysis. We ought to share that, and I think we can.
And my only point was that it's like y'all made, and you made the statement that you're not for or against. So let's actually look at this thing. I want to see.
That's what we've been doing for the last 8 months.
But you
We've-
voted on,
We've
you
been
voted to sell the land.
We've been looking at this thing.
You did the PSA before there was anything done.
And Preston, what I'd like to, this is my last meeting, so folks, I don't care. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. This all started when on Monday night, we were lied to by the city manager that there was not a data center coming. And then on Tuesday night, I'm watching that meeting while I'm reading my agenda that says we're selling our land to BLE. Sorry you got tied up in that mess. But we were lied to, and then Tuesday night, we voted to sell that land. There's a lot of mistrust right now. And folks, we got to get it back because people aren't trusting us because it all goes back to that night when that happened. And you guys are the ones who are affected. It's your tax dollars that are being done. We voted, I didn't vote, voted to sell the land to BLE, even though I felt like we should. I mean, I was sending my guy on the planning commission going, postpone it, because it was a lie. And that is totally what it was. And I think that's where a lot of the distrust comes from, is from that night and that incident. Now, I know all about NDAs and all that, and there's a lot of information out there that says NDAs are not legal with cities. And if Trey was here, he'd tell us that. But we've got to be open so that we can, again, trust our government and trust what we're doing. And I think that's where these studies come in,
100%.
is that you guys want to know. You don't want us just pushing it on through. And so when we say we're not for it, you did vote for it.
Exactly. We voted to sell the land. So
Vote it down like Luther.
So anyways, I just wanted to follow up on that if we're not, let's do the studies and figure that out before we go sign a legal agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Spicer.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
I've been working on practicing patience. I just did a lot right there because
You're
I was
doing
asked a
very-
question
you're
and never
doing-
got to talk about it.
You're doing very nicely,
Thank you.
too.
Thank you. No, I just moments ago called for and said that we need to invite BLE in to have a conversation like this because I think we all need to learn more, including myself, which I won't be voting on the final sale or any of this because I'll be gone. So, but I still think we need that. I also called for looking at these notes that everyone's making, going through this and having more discussion like this before this goes forward. I did those two things. So, I just wanted to answer you.
I appreciate that.
So I wanted to answer, I believe that's what needs to be done, and we're nowhere near a final sale of any land. I haven't seen a final sale. That has to go before the council again to get that done.
And it was, the final thing was we were going to sell them land contingent upon a water study. So,
Well, there's actually more points than that, I do believe.
no, it said the
but
water
yeah, it's not-
study would tell us if we could
Even,
make the agreement.
even with the water study, and I think it was an electric agreement, it still has, the final sale still has to come before the council.
And so I
Still
hope that
has
you
to-
and I, Rodney, will not just sit back, that we'll be calling our council representatives, telling them how we feel.
I will do that. I will not be coming and sitting in chambers every night for a little bit because I think
Yeah.
that would be wrong for me to do. But yes, I will. I will call my representative and have discussions, and absolutely.
The proposition for the hotel tax failed tonight, and I think that is a indication of the city as a whole telling you people, no more money. You're not doing what we want you to do. We're not going to give you any more money to do something else that we don't want you to do. So do the right thing. Say no.
Thank you, Mr. Horn.
Was it close?
No. 55% no.
I'm actually not for higher taxes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
The report is 83%.
Okay. Thank you. I'll now close this public discussion. At this time, we'll have discussion and possible action to approve master service agreement task order number 3 between the City of Yukon and Smiths Robert Baldish-Weiler LLC, SRB, for a water hydraulic model analysis and SCADA assessment in an amount not to exceed $299,559. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you just explain what that means?
Please, yes.
Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is another task order to perform a water hydraulic model analysis and a SCADA assessment. This relates to your water distribution system, which is the potable water system. There's a lot of throwing around of water today, and there is wastewater, which is sanitary sewer, and there's water that is potable. This is a study to look at your hydraulic model, or to develop a hydraulic model for your existing water distribution system. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. Is this to the right? Yes, okay. First, a hydraulic model is something that's very common for cities to have because it allows you to understand how the water distribution throughout your community actually functions and operates. It allows you to make decisions on if a new development is coming in with 200 homes, or if a new bank is coming in, or a new grocery store, or a new entire commercial development. You can then analyze that development prior to authorizing any land use changes, any building permits. Currently, right now, how the city of Yukon does things is a fire flow test is required in order to get a building permit and design plans for, let's just say, a grocery store or any type of commercial development. A reading is done on a fire hydrant or 2 or 3, and if there's enough fire flow pressure, then you've been allowing that development to occur. That has not taken into account the long-term effects of what kind of commercial development you have, what the existing pipe system is, and whether you can distribute that water. There are communities that are usually 5,000, less than 10,000 in population and water customers that already have a water model. And so you're at about 25,000 and you've not ever had a hydraulic model analysis done. So the overview will be looking at, and this is all in the contract scope, but I'm going to just go through it and you can ask questions as you would like. Developing future water demands and projections. So we will be using a software tool called Bentley WaterCAD and InfoWater for the existing conditions. We'll calibrate that water by taking pressure readings and volume distributions throughout the community. We will look at using your existing GIS and all of the information as far as pipe sizes go. We recognize that might not be 100% accurate, but it will at least give us a starting point to be able to analyze what your system is like. And then we will look at pumping, water transmission, emergency operations, looking at future scenarios, the year 2020 horizon, the year 2050 horizon. And then last but not least is to look at the existing water SCADA system. Now your water SCADA system is tied to operating your valve system to the tanks that you have where you have storage, and then it also is for your 15 water well systems. That SCADA system is out at the actual wastewater treatment plant, but it is fairly antiquated, does not have a lot of automation to it, and so that needs to be assessed and look at the electronics and the electrical components to determine what needs to happen with the SCADA upgrades, replacement, and what modernization that you need to have. So task 1 is really focused around building from what information you have. Taking your GIS and your as-built plans, trying to develop the historic and projected water demands, and looking at future scenarios. All of this is going to be done to build the software model so that we can look at future evaluation. This can then be used in the future If you have through community development, if you have a housing subdivision coming in, we could then analyze what that scenario is as it's going through planning commission and council for approval. A lot of this is based on, and let's move to items C and D, is looking at what's the water demand projections. Now, the Garver water study is looking at what your water resources are. It's identifying what those future demands are long term. So there's a lot of that information from the water resource study that you have nearly complete. However, what we're going to be looking at is land use demand and looking at historical trends based on your water billing and what consumption that you've had, and then come up with those scenarios for modeling that in the future. We will do field testing once we have the base model. We will put pressure loggers on at various places throughout the community. We will also do fire flow testing, which you currently do, but on a one-off type basis as you go through. There is some equipment for flow meters and pressure gauges that we will purchase as part of this, and then those will be turned over to the city so that they'll have them in the future so that future calibration can be done. And then again, also the WaterCAD software model, while it's being developed by us, it will be owned by the city, and it is intended that at one point in time the city will operate and maintain this water model with city staff. It could have a quality control measure once a year to be able to look at it to evaluate that in the future. But we're looking at up to 3 different future demand scenarios. You probably need to look at 2030. You've got 2050, and there may be somewhere in the middle based on the land use and the different development opportunities that you have. In your Economic Development Authority meeting, there's a lot of talk about TIF districts and other commercial development coming in. This will be a model that can be used to analyze if those developments come in. Do you have the distribution system in place that can handle that? The SCADA evaluation is looking at all of the existing hardware and software, identifying the obsolescence that you have, and it's not being negative about it, but it is very antiquated what you have right now. You do not have very much risk assessment analysis that's ever done for cybersecurity, for backup generation and power. There's just a lot of things missing in the way of if the SCADA system goes down, then the wells can't perform and they can't move. Currently, also, when you buy water from Oklahoma City and it goes in and out of some of your water towers and tanks, this would be a way by upgrading that to where you can more efficiently fill those tanks and spread that water out throughout the city. This modeling effort is anticipated to take a little over 200 calendar days. We've got 30 days for data collection, which the city has a lot of the information that we've already been obtaining and understand where that is. We'll start looking and working with not only your public works and city staff on the engineering side, but we're going to be working with your community development and planning staff in order to come up with future demand projections. Then we'll calibrate the hydraulic model and look at what the future horizon years are. That's another 90 days. And then there'll be a final report with a final model that can be used, and we can help maintain that, and then you can start integrating that into your decision making. The engineering hydraulic modeling and master plan is $195,411. The engineering for the SCADA assessment is $104,148. So it's a total not to exceed of $299,559. And this would be basically the work order number 3 that we've been under.
Mr. Long, would there be any outputs in this particular study that would have some high-level recommendations around the SCADA and the control systems?
Yes, so much like work order number 2, which was a wastewater treatment facility assessment. You've got ongoing capital projects at the wastewater plant, but we recently completed the draft report on the wastewater facility assessment. And that's coming up with priority 1, 2, and 3 recommendations with actual dollar figures. We are doing a final review with city staff in the next week or two. And then what we intend to do is the city manager and public works staff have wanted us to present that findings to you. In that wastewater facility, you have contingencies and money that you might have extra in some of the projects that you're doing now. We can maybe do some of the higher priority or lower dollar costs. This water hydraulic study will also identify those as far as from a SCADA standpoint. We will prioritize 1, 2, and 3, extremely important versus less important to replace.
Great. Thank you. That's essential. Any other questions for Mr. Long? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Wooten,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll recess as Yukon Municipal Authority, reconvene
very
as
much.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Sorry.
Long. And reconvene as Yukon City Council. Similarly, we'll take up the discussion on the Yukon City Council side. Have discussion and possible action to approve Master Service Agreement Task Order Number 3 between City of Yukon and SRB for a water hydraulic model analysis and SCADA assessment in an amount not to exceed $299,559 as presented in the Yukon Municipal Authority. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as we just had the discussion, Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Wooten,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll take up the Yukon City Council consent docket. Just like the YMA one, this item is placed on the agenda so that the City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. Should the council determine that any item cannot be approved by unanimous vote, that item will be removed from the consent docket and considered separately. City Manager recommends a motion that will approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 24th, 2026. Payment of material claims in the amount of $1,258,753.38. Approve the items on the surplus list and authorize their sale, trade, donation, or disposal as recommended by the IT department. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Wooten,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and possible action regarding a contract for sale and purchase of real property between Yukon Holly Rock LLC as seller and City of Yukon as buyer for property located at 1309 South Holly, Yukon, Oklahoma, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, including all improvements thereon for a purchase price of $3,550,000. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this action, one, based upon, I don't think we should buy property until we've had an appraisal of the properties that we have. I thought that was going to be done. And also, I don't feel like it's right to burden a new council with that much money of debt with Zimmerman and I going off, that it should be something that we wait until the new council comes on.
Councilwoman Selby's made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that item? It's a motion to postpone, you said? Okay.
Okay, and is it postponed that we have to do at the very next meeting, or is it, Roger?
I think it's tables the next
Table.
meeting, isn't it?
Table could occur in the same meeting under Robert's rules. But you're saying to postpone, is it postponement to a definite time or to an indefinite time?
I think until we get the appraisals for the buildings.
These contracts are subject to an appraisal, so
No, not that appraisal. I thought the appraisal of the buildings. I would never buy a $3 million home until I sold my current $3 million worth of homes.
I don't have a $3 million home.
I wish I didn't. I wish I did. I make a lot of money being city council.
Okay, the motion's before us. I believe it's a privileged motion. Attorney Reinhardt, correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe that's correct.
It's a privileged motion. It does not incur any debate, although we've had a little discussion. Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten,
No.
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore.
No. The motion does carry. This item will be postponed. At this time, we'll have discussion of possible act.
Can you explain what the purchase would be for?
Not at this. We're moving on to the next item. I'm sorry. At, yep.
That's the same item?
Yep. At this time, we'll have discussion and possible action regarding a real estate purchase contract between BIP LLC as seller and the City of Yukon as buyer for a property located at 1315 Holly Avenue, Yukon, Oklahoma, as more particularly described in the contract, including all improvements thereon for a purchase price of $725,000. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to postpone again on the same grounds that we need an appraisal of our current buildings that we would want to sell if there were a buyer, and also not to burden our new council with a debt unless they sell it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Again, this is a privileged motion. It does not have any debate under Robert's rules. Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
No.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
No. At this time, we'll have discussion and possible action to accept and award the bid for Taylor Park fencing project to Apex Fence in the amount of $94,375 as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Director. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. At this time, we'll have a discussion and possible action to adopt the City of Yukon non-discrimination policy and complaint procedure. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and possible action to approve the City of Yukon Economic Development Incentive Policy as recommended by the Economic Development Director. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and possible action to approve the City of Yukon Public Art Incentive Compliance Policy as recommended by the Economic Development Director. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and possible action to approve the City of Yukon Horizon Program YHP as recommended by the Economic Development Director. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and possible action to approve the City of Yukon Public Art Policy as recommended by the Community Arts Coordinator and Economic Development Director. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and possible action to approve Resolution 2026-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Yukon to approve participation in settlements with Associated Pharmacies, Inc., J.M. Smith Corporation, Louisiana Wholesale Drug Company, Morris and Dixon Company, North Carolina Mutual Wholesale Drug Company, Inc., and United Natural Foods, Inc., and authorizing the mayor or city manager to execute the remnant defendants combined subdivision participation and release form contained in the remnant defendants settlement agreement as Exhibit G, and to take all actions required to effect the settlements. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Excuse me. Just in plain English.
So
That's all.
yeah, settlement related to opioids. These are 6 defendants that were excluded from the original settlement, and net, this is like $6,000 to the City of Yukon.
So it's just, what was the original one then? Because I might have slept since then.
The original opioid settlement
Yeah,
was
just
like
I
with
said,
big,
plain English,
quote unquote, big
Yeah.
pharma.
Yeah, I get that, but like, what do they do? And
Class act. It was a big class action. Cities.
There's a category of the things that we can use that money for.
Yeah.
And one of them is billboards, which is totally pointless. But to use, like, I would love to see drug court. Again, I'm going out. I don't care. Drug court, something that would be beneficial, offering counseling to people as they, get arrested.
So is
for that.
this basically just we agree to participate in the class action settlement? Okay, that's all I want to know.
And this is the remnant defendants. These are the leftovers.
I just wanted to hear it in plain English. That's all.
Yep.
Our counsel on this project is McAfee Taft, and they've been giving us the resolution and things to act on.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. Good questions. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Wooten.
Yes.
Selby.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. Madam Clerk, do we have any new business this evening?
No, Mayor.
This time we'll have our visitors' comment section. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come to the podium at this time. Please state your name and address. You're requested to limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Any item being presented must pertain to City of Yukon business. The Oklahoma Open Meetings Act prohibits the City Council from taking official action on requests made during this portion of the agenda unless otherwise noted on the agenda. Do we have anyone that would like to speak?
Me, Ronnie Short, 970 Dover Mansion. I had two Yukon police officers visit me today, stating that I use my truck as a weapon, and I would like to present these photos.
Yeah, you can remain there, Mr. Short. Thank
Okay.
you.
I tried to give them him. But,
Yeah, you can give them to our city clerk.
Anyway, I
if
was
you-
returning from voting this morning at 7:30, and somebody was coming off of Linda Lane, turning down Ranchwood, going south. I was returning home. I was headed north, and they floated the stop sign and they cut across. You can look at these photos all day long, and you can see the tire tracks where they cut across that stop sign, and they about hit me head on in my lane, and they accused me of almost hitting them. I put up with their harassment in '05, and I'm not going to do it again. I've been stopped twice, no tickets, just harassed, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. You know, I don't know if this stems from me fighting the city so much, trying to get something done about the speeding on our street, or what. But I'm tired of it.
Thank you, Mr. Short.
That shouldn't happen.
I'm back.
Mr. Castle.
Pull this up. So it was
Can you
mentioned earlier.
state your name and address? Sorry, we're in a different
that's
section
fair.
here.
Zach Castle, 728 Villa. So I wanted to start with something related to the election that was held today. And yesterday, my wife and I, we try to look at the ballot text and everything and read it to see what we're voting on, like any good citizen should do. And the goal of the vote was to bring, or so it was stated, bring the excise tax on hotels in the city of Yukon to 9%. And reviewing all the material, the ordinance, and the resolution that were passed by the city council to call for the election and to update our city charter, to do that indeed says that. But the ballot text doesn't. It didn't. Past tense now. The ballot text didn't. As we were reading it, we found that the ballot text, in fact, levied an additional 9% on top of the 5% that it currently. Let me rephrase. Upon all current city excise taxes, basically all taxes that were brought forth or that were already in place. And so when I read that, with our current 5%, 5 plus 9 is 14, and that would actually, the way I read it, bring the proposed excise tax rate up to 14%, which I didn't realize Norman was doing 10 today, and I thought that was high. And which basically translates with all their city taxes being put together. If you're spending $100 a room a night in Yukon, add an extra $22 to it. And so I just want to know, and I know that our tradition is that we can't respond, but I'm curious who wrote the proposition, the actual text of the proposition. Going back in, yes, 2026-02 resolution and ordinance 1484, that does seem to be the stated goal, but I can't see that when I'm sitting in a ballot box. I see what's presented in front of me. And I think that's something that we need to consider when we're going through and reviewing these propositions and reviewing the text that comes before it goes to the citizens. We need to be reviewing that text. And there are lots of reasons where we may not want to increase our sales tax or any taxes for any reason. But if we're giving the voters the wrong information, then all that's beside the point. So I just want to challenge the city council, both who's up here now and who will be coming in. Let's do better.
Thank you, Mr. Castle.
Preston Spicer, 13500 West Wilshire. I just want to make a comment on when I say rushing. So a good example of this, was the two buildings on Hawley that we were supposed to talk about tonight. Rewind 2 weeks, I believe you all convened in an executive session. Nothing came out of that 2 weeks ago at the last council meeting. And then here we are voting to enter a contract to sell those properties. So many of us, actually all of us in this room, get typically 2 business days to read through that agenda, and typically the hundreds of pages that go with it. Some of us stopped getting our notifications a while back, so many times we have less time than that. So when I say rush, that's what I mean, is that we go from one meeting to 48 hours or less before the next one, and now we've got a contract where we're selling. So I just wanted to clarify that. When I say rushing, that's what I meant, is that we're quickly advancing things when there was no discussion after that executive session last week. Clearly something was decided in there, and we didn't get to hear about it. So I appreciate y'all tabling it or postponing it, whatever the correct term was. So
Thank you, Mr. Spicer.
Mike Burris, 300 East Platte. You also wanted to speak. Is it inappropriate to ask?
Mr. Burris, please, Mr. Burris, please address the council. Thank you, sir.
300 East Platte. I've been out of town and I came back in town, and I read in the Yukon review, or the Yukon progress, the circulation manager, Jeremy Pyle, said that he didn't fault the city of Yukon, and they need to understand, the city needs to understand that we as the newspaper and as the media are the people. We speak for the people. We speak to the people. That's actually inappropriate. My old civics textbook would explain it to them, but obviously they have a problem with that. In addition to that, there was an article while I was gone about a horn derangement syndrome, about an old tractor sitting on grass, and it's a violation of the law. I've got the law prohibited public nuisance declared, if you want to watch it, or if you want to see it. I appreciate what's going on here, but in reading the rest of this article, there's all this stuff in there about you can't. In Yukon, I've been honking and waving at my neighbors for 50 years. I don't really understand what's wrong with that. It's ridiculous when we start claiming that there's something wrong when somebody does that. That's what they do when they're friendly. They're not trying to start a problem. What I think this is, and if you look, the Yukon Progress later on decided to run this picture of this old junk tractor again. And when they ran it again, they put a sign in front of it and started saying that if it said there was a recall, that would make it okay. That too is ridiculous, and either they know it or there's something seriously wrong with people. I have copies of the law if anybody wants it, but in reality, that tractor's not supposed to be on grass, and it's not supposed to be sitting there for everybody to see. You're supposed to be able to say, hey, you can't park in your front yard, haul the thing off. In addition to that, I'm sitting here going, why in the world is the Yukon Progress doing this? I think there's an ulterior motive, but that's an opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Burris.
And historic. I just want to say, on a positive note, I appreciate all the work Shelby has done and Zimmerman done, and I appreciate the work that you've done in the city council. I know it's not been easy. I know it's been frustrating at times, and I appreciate all your work for the city.
Thank you, Ms. Archibald. This time we'll close our visitor's comment. I'll open up the floor for each councilperson to say a few words in closing. This item's reserved for announcements, recognitions, etc. It's not intended for the conduct of city business. We'll begin with Councilmember Selby.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were doing all that other. I want to thank Spanish Cove today. They had myself and Jordan out to introduce, to say goodbye to them. I've enjoyed serving, especially my population at Spanish Cove, and welcome Jordan to them. And I just want to again thank you for a chance to serve you for 8 years. I've totally enjoyed my time with you, and I will miss you all. Come by and see me at my house.
Councilmember Councilmember Zimmerman. Sorry, it's going out of order there.
You did. I know, threw me off. I want to thank Mr. Kessel and Mr. Spicer and everyone else that spoke tonight. Again, like I opened the meeting, those open and honest discussions are what we have to have, because we're not always going to agree on things, even little things that seem trivial we won't agree on, but we can get ourselves where we need to go when we're willing to have those actual conversations where we're listening and we're sharing those ideas, and I appreciate that. Again, it's been an honor to serve Ward 1, and and they know some of the things they did, and some of the times I stood with them when they didn't want land use changes in their backyards and things like that. So those folks over there know. So I appreciate them a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Zimmerman. Councilmember Shriver.
I just want to say to Zimmerman, Sylvia, it's been great serving with y'all. Thanks for your dedication over the last terms. I can say that over my last 2, it amazes me that you stayed in for 8. So kudos to you guys. I don't have much else. I would like to thank Zach. Me and Zach talk quite a bit. He's always open-minded. No, we do not see eye to eye on probably 60%, 40% of what we talk about. But at least me and this man are always cordial with one another. We get to our points, prove our points with one another cordially. And today I can actually say that Zach is actually a friend of mine. And we always don't see eye to eye. That's the beauty part of it. So, Zach, thank you.
Vice Mayor Wooten.
Well, since it's the night that officially you're leaving, I guess, and you're leaving, Mr. Zimmerman, it's been a pleasure. Worked with you many years, and it was an honor to have you by my side up here. Look forward to still working with you in the future.
And we disagree a lot.
We do disagree a lot, and that's okay. Councilwoman, I'm going to, here it goes.
This is live.
It is live. This council would not be here without you. You helped spur a lot of debate and got you got me to run, and I appreciate you for that. And so, like it or not, we're all here because of you. And so I thank you for what you've done. We don't agree on a lot of things, and that's okay. And you and I we can bicker and we can argue and we can fight and we can say okay after it's done, and we can move on. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wooten. Some upcoming special events and programs here in Yukon in April and May. Starting next week, April 10th to the 18th, our Yukon Senior Games kick off. It's a $15 registration fee plus $5 per event. Some of the Senior Games events are pickleball, billiards, archery, disc golf, basketball, fitness, washer pitching, cornhole, horseshoes, track and field, and creative arts. Go to the yukonok.gov catalog to check it out, and the deadline to sign up is tonight at midnight. So for all you night owls, get signed up tonight. And then Festival of the Child will be held on Saturday, May the 2nd. It's held in City Park. Advance tickets are $5 per child. Day of tickets are $7 per child. Adults get in for free. That's pretty cool. Get your tickets online. There's over 60 different kids' activities, including a petting zoo, food trucks, inflatables, carnival games, music, face painting, etc. Don't miss the ribbon cutting for Yukon's newest playground, which is over by Parkland. You access it through City Park, and that will happen at noon. There will be ice cream while supplies last. And then lastly, please, if you stay after the meeting, you can scan my QR code for that Parks and Rec QR code for the survey. Also, in all of our city parks, there's little triangular signs. I think they may have brought one here. I didn't see it. Yeah, there's one on the way out. Or you can just go to the website and check out our Parks and Rec Master Plan survey. I do want to say thank you to Councilwoman Selby for your service, Councilman Zimmerman for your service. The amount of time and effort that people put into volunteering to serve for our city council, our boards, authorities, and commissions is amazing. I saw Joe Edwards earlier. I see Lee back there. The people that serve Yukon on some of these boards, authorities, and commissions are amazing. And people don't see eye to eye. That's a beautiful thing about living in a community. Everybody can be represented. And lastly, you know, this is not something that I enjoy, but when I hear about complaints of this really bothers me. Acts of threats or violence. I've talked about this twice from this horseshoe. And it really bothers me when the people that serve our community as volunteers or as
And
city
spouses.
staff and spouses are threatened or acts of physical violence are made against them. It's intolerable. It's intolerable. And I won't stand for it. At every juncture, it's reported to the proper authorities at the city, the county, and the state level. It's unacceptable. I won't stand for it. We recognize decorum and we speak against political violence or any forms of violence. It's unacceptable. With that, this meeting is adjourned.